Welcome to the first episode of Entrap House with me, Kenyo Maina, Mano Mjengo. In fact, I need you guys to help me with something. Um, should I keep on to character because me, I like being in my element, and I am a Mano Mjengo, so Mano Mjengo will be the very identity that I will use for this particular show. Nonetheless, this is a continuation of the conversations that we say that we'll be having, which would focus more on the journey of entrepreneurship. And I have been one for 15 years. And just like I'd mentioned before, there are lots of things to talk about. So today, perhaps the best place to start would be to focus on what 2025 has been for me. Let me tell you guys. Um, I've only had two instances in my business life that have been really bad. That was 2012 and now. And let me tell you, this one for 2025 has been my 2012 on steroids. People who know me very well do know what exactly I'm talking about. And by extension, I wish to share this with you so that you can also understand. So let's dive into it. 2025 started off very promising. We had good prospects towards the end of 2024. We set out things. I was fortunate enough to get a little bit of support from close family and friends, and I knew for sure this year the game was going to change. Please note, I also went through a very, very difficult breakup, a business breakup, and also just generally, it's sort of a life breakup because these are people that I really looked up to, which I still do. But hey, it's cool. So here we are. Now I have to figure out how to get back in the game and get myself busy. Hey, January comes. It was pretty cool. We were having a little bit of opportunities here and there. And then somewhere along the lines just went dead, quiet. I thought it was just the normal start of a year, one or two, three issues, and then things would pick up and then would move on. But this one tended to prolong for quite a while. I'm trying to cut through because there's a lot to talk about. We'll be talking about them in segments. So let me just tell you what exactly I was staring. Number one, I had gone into debt to sustain some operations. And then those operations started and then backfired. Two actually. One progressed pretty well, but the problem came in when it came to chasing off payments. That's when you realize by the uhuni Kenya. Hey, if you're a contractor and you've never really had to beg for your money, then you've not really lived up to that particular task, or an entrepreneur for that matter. Nonetheless, here we are. Thinking that it was just going to be a short storm to ride and then we'll be out of it. Please note, by this time, over and above adding on to debt, I was also handling other debts which had fallen due. So, a bit of transferring of money from one wallet to another and whatnot. You know how the story goes. Wacha nikwambie, first quarter ends, everything just went mute. I didn't have direction. I never knew where exactly I was gonna go. I couldn't really make good of a situation. I was literally stuck in a phase. At this particular point, I had auctioneers on my tail, even the year before. But now this one tended to be a little bit more tight. So, can you imagine? Let me just put it out here, surviving 12 auctioneer cycles in 1 year. 12, kumi na mbili. That's almost like spelling one auctioneer cycle every month. And there's an auction story that I'll share with you that really shows how help is always around you. But here I am. I have to figure out how I'm going to pay certain obligations, how I'm going to pay debt, how I'm going to stop further processes of recovery from auction cycles and all that. And then fourth person checks into the game that makes the situation go from south to southeast, if that's a word. The Revenue Authority, KRA. Guys, let me tell you, um, when the revenue body checks into your organization, it's a different ball game altogether. So these people came in. At first, I was having a bit of problems renewing my certifications. You know, in business, compliance is very critical. And then, stuff happened. And after working out one detail through very great support, professional services from wonderful tax agents, another body checks in that's called the special table. Well, if you know the special table, then you know exactly where the heat comes in. Nonetheless, here we are. This is Kenyo Maina, Managing Director, Covadis East Africa Limited, with a false start to the year, um, dug deeper into debt, uh, handling a ton of auctions, people just coming and doing stuff. In my videos, I used to shoot in my very well furnished office. That was auctioned as well. It went too bad. And so many other things. Alafu mimi unajua mimi nakuwaga omera design flani. I have a thing for fine things. I kind of like living a good life. So, and that is definitely backed up by work because I equally work hard. But anyway, here we are. Something comes up in between this process. At this particular stage, I was dependent on a lot of people, especially on my technical end. And that's when I started to realize cracks within the system. So please note, one side, jobs are not coming through. Done. Almost immediately after, auctions after auctions after auctions. Almost immediately after, the Revenue Authority, and almost immediately after, people who you work with start exiting the scene. Let me tell you, that was baptism by fire. Baptism by fire. And all you could do is just sit down and try to figure out what's going on, because by the time you can make wind of what exactly you're going through, and you trying to make good of a situation so that you can find meaning, direction, create, and all that, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of chaos. So you can imagine, in this particular phase, the people who extended a hand, an opportunity my way, and these opportunities came, but the opportunities just couldn't sustain the noise that was being made at the time. So you know exactly what that does. It affects your performance, it affects your delivery, and it becomes extremely difficult to keep up. At this time, I still have to think. I have to pay people, but I also have to sustain myself. So now here I am thinking, how do I even juggle the two? I have two kids in school. They have to go to school. They cannot afford, and let me tell you, my kids love their school. And so now I'm caught up in a dilemma where fees have to be paid, general bills have to be met, and I'm completely cash strapped. Do you know what happens in that particular instant? Let me tell you. You will instantly find yourself in a begging position. You become a beggar. And you literally just find yourself constantly asking for assistance. Sometimes you just want like handouts, literally, just to get by, because everything has just bombed. Everything culminated into one giant stockpile of mess. But then again, days are not stopping, and you cannot just sit down and beat yourself down every time and literally do nothing about it. So you have to wake up every day and do something. So these opportunities that I was handed over to, I undertook them. Quite a number of them went south, and then some of them may be watching. Let me take this opportunity to thank you. You have no idea the kind of chaos I was going through when things were happening. But we just had to wake up and show up every day, because what benefit would it have been if I just sat down and do nothing? So literally it brings back, again, the subject of resilience. What is resilience? Is it the subject that is brought about through going through adversity? Or is it the very outcome of surviving adversity, triumph of adversity? In my case, it has purely been going through that adverse moment. And I have to mention, it hasn't been easy. As I sit here today, I am still in a dark hole. But as long as the sun rises and sets, there is always a way out. There will always be something that you can do to make things work out. 2025 ending. What have I achieved so far? My kids have successfully gone through their school terms. I have no school debt. I have balanced all my bills and obligations so far up to where I am. Still running deficits low, but at least everything is working. Do you know, it's been so interesting that there have been moments where even something as basic as food is actually a luxury. Thank God for my family, the people who stay close, and the close people and friends who've found a way to support me through this. I appreciate. So this is me sitting down to start a conversation that will tend to show people that it is not a crime, it is not abnormal to go through these processes. And then, you know, one thing that happens during this period when you're going through all these issues, you find yourself sitting down to scroll through, just look at what the internet is doing. You know, those moments when you have mind block and you just want a temporary escape. And then you go in and then you find guys out there, people that you know, seem to be experiencing a different climate of the economy than you are. You know, you find somebody has probably bought something, somebody has achieved something, somebody has invested something, somebody is just thankful over something. And then other guys are probably running their businesses. You even wonder, hey, is it your model that's wrong? Are you running on foul principles? What exactly the situation is? But you know what? We are not all bound to travel the same way. We're not bound to go along the same way. We don't have a similar destination. And probably for some of us, we had to go through the baptism of fire just to be able to find a footing and probably cement our foundations for the next undertaking. So, one thing that really comes out for me here, number one, mindset. You know, there are two factors that really influence what your resilient self is: the internal factors and then the external factors. Internal factors generally speak about your belief systems, your mindset, what you've put in your head. When you're faced with this kind of issues, you're either going to A, let the noise play, shut your mind, and completely exit the scene. Guess what? When that happens, the world will still progress. Nothing waits for you. Time waits for no man. Or B, look at that situation, choose to find a footing, and find a way to work out. And you just have to wake up and keep trying. keep trying. Nobody understands your journey better than yourself. And nobody will live a life better, your life better than you. You're the one to know how to navigate through the storms, the challenges, and everything that you go through. And you just have to keep working on your mindset to make sure that it's steady. Learn to appreciate yourself for the small gains that you make. They don't have to be so big. They don't have to be grand. But those small steps that you make, every day you wake up, you gain something small and you go back to sleep. When I wake up, start a conversation with somebody, and that conversation goes well, and something comes out of it. Probably not to the magnitudes that handle everything. Celebrate those moments, bank them, build up on them, and then slowly by slowly, work your way through. For the first episode, I think I'm speaking to myself as I speak to you, and I would love to have these conversations more and more. So on the next ones, I will be talking about some very intricate stuff. And please interact with me. Try and check yourself where you are. This is a safe space. I mean, the world really tells us to sell a facade, make everything look so perfect, do stuff in a manner that everybody will see that yours is a very perfect line of life. But then again, we all live in a real world. So who's going to talk about the ugly truth? See you on the next one. And Trap House.